appropriate the name of all the peoples of the area and speak, because people who do not know of history will think you speak in their behalf. The Greek Prime Minister, Karamanlis, is Macedonian, from Ceres. When you say the Republic of Macedonia, you need a special lecture to understand that Karamanlis is not a citizen of your country. I mean, don't you realize the absurdity of this position and the easiness with which we can get out of it? We can get out of it tomorrow. It's so simple. I mean, we don't ask you to lose your identity. We don't ask you to drop even your name. What we ask you is to qualify your name so that it will not be considered as insinuating that you represent all the region of Macedonia. Now, concerning the last proposal of Nimitz, the proposal you accepted by Nimitz, it has been described by the press, and I'm afraid rightfully so, as a bus route rather than a name. It was something like Republic of Macedonia, pause, Skopje. This is something like Washington, Maryland, or whatever. This was not a new name that would be functional. What we say, and I'm sure you know it, Mr. Ambassador, what we say is that we need a simple, compound name that would be used erga omnes, that would facilitate international standing, our relations, your relations to the world, etc., and that would not deprive you of your identity. We will respect your people, you will respect your identity, but you should respect us. The Greeks have offered very much in the Second World War. I'm not speaking of antiquity. The Greeks have given a lot to the world. 2,000 ships lie in the bottom of the Atlantic carrying goods between the States and England. We delayed Hitler. And we got only the Dodecanese after the war. We didn't ask anything in the north, except some modification with the Bulgarian border. And believe me, nothing would please the Greek people and the Greek government more than having the relationships we deserve with your country. We are open, and you will be surprised at the level and warmth of our reaction if you too walk across the bridge and we find a solution. Look, considering the propaganda thing, look at the United States House of Representatives. It's only 1 of 3 times that the House of Representatives, I will quote, expressed their sense that the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia should stop the utilization of materials that violate provisions of United Nations brokered interim accord between the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia and Greece regarding hostile activities and propaganda, and should work with the United Nations and Greece to achieve long-standing United Nations and United Nations policy goals of finding a mutually acceptable official name for the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia. This is the 1 in 3 votings of the House of Representatives that collected so many signatures. Do you think all these people are misinformed? Do you think that the representatives of the great American nations do not know what they're talking about? And why is it that in all schools and universities history is written now, the attempt is to rewrite it? And what on earth is the point of going so far back? I mean, are we going to now discuss in the beginning of the 21st century about Philip and Alexander? The history has been written. Now we have to write a new history. Come along.
I want to express my thanks to both gentlemen for a fascinating insight into what Ambassador Matthew Nimitz must be dealing with over the last 12 years in trying to resolve these issues between Athens and Skopje. We have time for 2 more very pointed questions. Sir, and then ma'am. Go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Jan Alexiou. When those small nations were put together and named it Yugoslavia, this portion was named Vardarska Banovina.
I know.
Only a small portion of this nation is part of the ancient Macedonia, the Hellenistic state of Macedonia. I recall about 20 years ago, this is my question. I recall 20 years ago, Germany suggested Republic of Skopje. That's another Greek name, if they would like to utilize name. Why shouldn't it be called Republic of Skopje?
Well, I'm not going to get into name finding for the neighboring country. That's not my capacity, and it's what you said is historically true. They were called Vardarska before the war, As I said in my speech, there was a tremendous nation-building process under Tito, which lasted for nearly 2 generations. Names were changed so that they would not remind of the Bulgarian names. All the off became Ovsky. Grammar started to be changed and so on. Not all, but many. The Academy of Sciences was busy. You know how this nation-building process is taking place. The problem is that, as I said, we've been tolerating that to a great extent in order to, in my opinion, very badly. But we did tolerate it, and then the situation on the ground became difficult, because now you have young people. I don't have it with me, you must see a television program that appears on television. They simply go into schools and ask the pupils in Skopje to speak what they believe of their country. And it's amazing what they would tell you. And they say it in the greatest honesty, the greatest spontaneity, because they truly believe it. They truly believe it. They believe it. I'll show you the videos if you like. And they are taken freely into the schools. And but I wouldn't like to go back into history. The fact is now we have to look to the future. And to look to the future, when you enter into a negotiation process, you can't end the negotiation by keeping the position you had when you started it. That's compromise. We have already said that we don't start where we started 15 years ago. I mean, if we want a solution, we have both to move in a direction of finding a compromise.
We have a question in the corner there, Ellen.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Ellen Roscom. I'm a scholar here with the Southeast Europe Project at the Woodrow Wilson Center. Thank you very much for a fantastic presentation and a lively debate. My question will probably be easy compared to the previous questions. It's less geopolitically oriented and slightly more pragmatic. And I wanted to ask you, referring back to one of your proposals at the end of your speech about the need for new financial commitment to help increase stability in the region. And I want to focus purely only on Albania.
Yeah.
Because I've done a lot of work in the last year in Moldova.
Question, please.
Would you take support, your own support, to the European Commission for the kind of work that the Millennium Challenge Corporation has supported and is supporting in Moldova, for the same kind of work in Albania for anti-corruption types of reform across various sectors as a new umbrella approach to reform and creating more stability and, as a byproduct, improving human development?
I think I can't answer you specifically because I don't know the exact extent, nature, financing of the program. But certainly the type of program you are referring to is eligible. It's certain that the EU tries to finance as many anti-corruption and smooth functioning of administration programs in the Balkans as possible. But also, I think that when Mrs. Bakoyannis, my minister, speaks of new financial means, she also would probably indicate a fund. This is for the Commission to do. I mean, the Commission is now asked to pile up a report following the Greek view and tell us what sort of new financial instruments we can use in order to accelerate the development of the other Balkan countries, and particularly the countries of the Western Balkans. And I said in my speech that in our approach we have 3 media. Medium 1, the EU. We always agree with the EU in whichever proposal there is to finance the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, Serbia, Bosnia-Herzegovina and so on. B, we have our own plan for developing the Balkans, which is out of the Greek taxpayers' pocket, directly. This is the $1.5 billion. And then, third, we encourage private initiative. And I said before, how successful this encouraging has been, which now the total invested capital, Greek invested capital in the Balkans, is approaching $20 billion. So in all 3 sectors, we are doing our best to find ways to accelerate the development, because only a developed and well-integrated Balkans will be a peaceful Balkans. This is our strategy, and I think from what I told you, you obviously understand that Greece has been very earnest in following this policy in every way possible, financial and political.
Mr. Secretary General, I want to close the program, if I might, with one longer-term question that sheds a little bit of light into the ongoing debate in Greece about this name issue. And that is, as you mentioned before, it's very doubtful that the Greek Parliament would ratify, say, any invitation by the NATO alliance to Skopje to join the alliance in the near future. And this seems to be, I guess, across party lines with both major parties and maybe even some of the smaller ones. Beyond sort of the popular elements of this issue, at the foreign policy and defense planning level, what is a discussion in Athens about Greece's long-term foreign policy goals in the Balkans, larger Euro-Atlantic interests in the Balkans, and the impact of the irresolution of this issue on those long-term goals?
What we said is that we want to close the gaps. This is why, this is the main reason behind our decision to abandon so much of our previous position. So we want movement. We want to look at the future in every direction possible, including the issue of the name. It was not at all easy for a Greek government to come out and say that we can take composite name when opinion polls indicated 70% of those asked do not want it. It was difficult. So we have, I think the strategy is, as I described it in the 5-point, acceleration by all means possible. If the criteria are filled, I mean, we cannot take anyone in the EU and NATO without his own will. And when we applied to become members of the EU, we went through all sorts of examinations and fulfillment of criteria in 81. We didn't get in with one step. We started our petition in 74, and we got in 81. There are rules. The club, if you want to join the club, you must partake of the rules of the club. You can't have your own rules, like another neighbor sometimes thinks. The rules of the club are clear, but I think that we have to start, and we want to accelerate everyone, including, of course, the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia. I mean, we would like to see our neighboring countries as soon as possible in the EU, but they must also contribute in that direction. We can't be doing the whole job. And they have ameliorated the situation. Their economy is going much better in all the neighboring countries, in Albania, in the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia. There is progress. There are less problems between the communities. So there is a clear problem. I think the future is ours to build. But in order to build a common future, we have to work together, not against each other.
Looks like we'll be revisiting these issues for many years to come, Mr. Katsoudas. On that note, I want to thank you very much for joining us today at the Woodrow Wilson Center for very incisive comments. Thank you all very much for joining us today. And we have a program here at the Southeast Europe Project on Thursday at 3 p.m., I believe, with Dr. Taner Akçam of the University of Minnesota on the topic of facing history, denial, and Turkish national security. Thank you all very much for joining us today.